Okay. Welcome. It's Tuesday, September 16th, and this is our first facility committee meeting of the new year. And happy to say we have a full house tonight. We have all our committee members, and we are excited to introduce or welcome Kirsten Achampong. She's a junior, and Kirsten, we are so happy to have you. We love when we have student voices, so thank you for dedicating your time and being that student voice. So, thank you. Are there any public comments? No public comments. We can get right. Administrative remarks? Thank you.
Yes, I have one. Just want to give a little bit of update. So in the past, we've talked with our capital planning about this building here, the administration building. So we're moving right along on what that might look like. We sent out, by invitation only, we sent out an RFP to architectural firms to solicit some new ideas and some proposals for this building. So we are actually conducting interviews for them this Thursday. The selected firms that have been shortlisted will come in and kind of give a little presentation, and do a little Q&A with the interview team, which consists of 12 people. It's a little mix of board members, administration, some support staff, and so we hope to come back in November sometime with a recommendation.
Great. First and only item on the agenda is 301, and it's the update on the building of the Ithan Elementary School.
Thank you. This evening we have representatives from Breslin Architecture Group, Steve Behrens and Julian Pelikanekis. Good job, thank you. But no, so last month we did a pretty in-depth, detailed update to the board of the whole at the board meeting. We had some great feedback, a couple questions that I think we're going to come back tonight, try to answer those questions, add some clarity to that. But then again, prepping in preparation for going out to bid, hopefully in November. So I'll turn it over to President's group.
Thank you. Good evening. So as Mr. Morris indicated, this is an opportunity to come back and build on the presentation from the board meeting. Specifically, now we have the entirety of the presentation with a couple of updates, but then also responses to the specific questions and additional information that was requested. So if we advance to the agenda slide, you'll see that is indeed the same agenda. And then as far as the recommended action, so as a reminder, we're looking in November to, as Mr. Morris said, to release the new Ithan Elementary School for public bidding at long last, and also to authorize the award of a contract for an early tree removal. So we're going to be looking at soliciting prices for the early tree removal. We'll get into a moment as to why we're looking to do that. And then fast forwarding to February board meeting, that's when we would be looking to have received bids, have analyzed those bids, made decisions on alternates and so forth, and then award contracts for construction. So that'll be exciting to be at that point.
And Steve, just for clarity, last month they heard October for that early tree, but we're moving it till November.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Yes, we're moving
with still
it to
plenty
October.
of time to meet
Right.
our original deadline and reasoning.
Right, and we'll talk about those dates in a moment on an upcoming slide. So the project schedule update then is on slide 5, and so as we complete items, they're graying out on this schedule, and so we're on track for the items they're in black, and demolition of the houses, the construction of the new playground, and then again looking forward to those dates in November, as I mentioned a moment ago, and then that then identifies some other milestones prior to February with regard to receiving the land development approval, that major milestone that we're looking toward, and then scheduling that tree removal, if that action occurs in November, to plan for that, and then coming to facilities in February, and then also to the board for the award of contracts, construction beginning. And then those are some key milestones there at the bottom, which will dovetail with the review of the phasing that's on some slides to come as well. So again, I won't go into the detail on this that we went through last time, but just to refresh that the reason for the early tree removal is to align with the requirements of protection of an endangered species, which is the Indiana bat, and that the cutting of trees that have been identified as potential habitat for that must occur, between October and March. So that's what we're aiming towards, and so that's why we do not expect the construction on site for the elementary school to begin in time to have rolled that tree removal into the larger project. So that's the refresh on that slide. And then the next slide, this was added to respond to questions regarding what trees are we talking about, where are they on the site, and so that's depicted in blue, the areas of tree removal. All of the trees with an X on them are to be removed. These are only trees that are being removed because they're within the footprint of the building or the grading immediately around the building, that the trees just simply can't remain. So we are not cutting down trees that are not impacted directly by the project. So that's what's indicated there in blue. At the very, very bottom of the slide is the existing building. So as you know, the new building is sitting behind the existing, so you can imagine that's where the footprint of the building, the associated stormwater management, the playground, that sort of thing impacts that. So that's the blue. The red dimensions, because this was also a question, how close are we getting to the neighbors with this tree removal? And so that's what you're seeing there in the large red numbers, indicating the distance between the tree work and the back property line of the neighbors, not the houses or windows or anything like that, but just where their property line falls. So hundreds of feet in two directions, and then on the right side of the plan there, a little bit closer. But if you think about the topography there, if you recall, there's a substantial grade change behind those houses. So it's the same conversation we had early on in design about, well, how does the building's location impact the neighbors? So again, nothing's happening that wouldn't be necessary to occur for the construction of the building.
And just to clarify, it's not just, so that's how far it is from the neighbor, but those other, in light gray, those are other trees, so it's not an open field, these are.
You're right, I should have pointed that out. So all the other trees there, those are remaining.
Right.
So only the ones with X's on them are being removed, so, yep.
Just a question, the blue area, all right, would be on my left of this thing. Why are we removing that whole area? It seems to be really far from where the building's going to be.
Well, that's where the outdoor field is. That's where the underground stormwater management is occurring. So, and then grading for it, because to have that be an effective play field, it needs to be relatively level with respect to the slope of the site. So, and again, that was looked at very carefully. It's
The
only
shade tree.
the shade tree
committee
has
did.
reviewed this on a
This
couple
is
of
all part of,
occasions,
yes,
right?
just to
Yes.
remind.
Yeah, so good question. It's not the actual footprint of the building. That's a little bit more impacted on the right side of your drawing, but the left side is really those important outdoor amenities for the students and the stormwater management, that if you recall, the direction was to put that underground, and so we've activated that area with a field for outdoor play, for physical education, and so that's the need for those trees to be removed.
I'll open it up for other questions right now, but do we have any concerns with like the kind of equipment that has to come in with the students still being on campus and at school?
Yeah. So, yeah, naturally, those are things that we look at and consider carefully. And so we're right now evaluating the access to that, what will be essentially a low-grade construction zone, right? So we have to control how the contractors have access to that area. We're talking about coming off the loop road in an area where the final construction access will occur. So there's some consistency with what will occur as far as contractor access through the duration of the project. We don't want to be creating a new area of disturbance in that regard. There will be fencing around these areas, and yes, so the time of day that they're allowed to have access to it fits in with the ordinances of the township and so forth, so. if
And
you
then
wanna add
last
anything.
question, is it phased? Are you taking them all at once, or is it gonna be a phased
All-
project?
All at once. Now, it'll occur over a period of time, there's a duration to it, but yes, we're not, there's really, we want to get it done as soon as we can and limit the disturbance as much as possible. So, yeah, we want to get this done as quickly as possible in one phase.
Well, to that extent, if you're going to do it in one phase, assuming that the weather cooperates, how long would that phase be?
Yeah, we're looking at probably in the order of 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
So until we, but different contractors have different equipment, different methodology. So we're giving them a defined window, but the incentive is certainly going to be for them to get done as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. So then moving to the next slide, there's a very direct change here that was made in some language. There was some confusion about a note in the upper left, but we've clarified that to just explain that we're repaving that existing access drive from the area of the old houses out to Roberts Road. So we're not creating any kind of new entrance to the site in that location. So just because I think repetition helps with some of these more complicated things, I'll just quickly go through the phasing again, if you don't mind, and just point out that we have about 4 phases of the work, and I'll just reference at the top right of the slide is the phase designation with the dates. So phase 1 is the longest duration because that is the construction of the new building, which is depicted there on this drawing. And again, lots of detail there in the chart as to what activities are occurring. But this is the phase from the beginning of on-site construction. We anticipate in April of 2026 through the completion of the building in January of 2028. And then all of the activities that occur around that. Primarily, it's construction of the new building and the associated stormwater management and grading and so forth for that. And then the next page is phase 2. This is actually a sub-phase within the duration of phase 1. So this is the work that would occur over the summer of 2027. What we're trying to do there is prep for the opening of the new school the following year, and so get the site circulation worked out around the new construction, but just a portion of it to allow for access to the new building then while the existing school is being torn down. So we're doing this, I'll say, early in a sense in the summer of 2027 before, so that can be done during the summertime. That's the important factor there. Phase 3, this is immediately after the construction of the new building is complete. So this is just a shorter duration from January to April of 2028. And that is the demolition of the existing building and some of the site work that's associated with that. So at this point, the new playground will be constructed and available behind the new building. So the temporary playground will be phased out, and then that site work up along Roberts Road can commence while the existing building is being demolished. And then finally, Phase 4, and again, for the purposes of communicating it, it's depicted here as 4A and 4B, but this is the spring of 2028, again, after the new building is constructed, concurrent with the demolition of the existing building, but then continuing with the development of the site work. This is prior to the end of school in spring of 2028. And then the final phase is really between April and August of 2028, where the existing building is down and the balance of the site work is put in place. And you'll probably remember earlier phasing plans very early on, we thought we might be leaking into the fall of 2028. So the balance of doing the demolition of the existing building while school is in session, sort of front-loading that a little bit, then allows us, we believe, to be done in August of 2028, so that the opening of the 28-29 school year is the construction's complete. So a little bit of a shift there from earlier on phasing plans that you've seen, but the goal is to get done as quickly as possible. And then for that 28-29 school year, all that site work is complete. So that's again, a redo of the phasing plan. Certainly open to questions on that if you wish. Then the next slide is the update with respect to our authority approvals that are in the works right now. This has not changed from the last time you've seen it. The pertinent date here, and we're on track with all these things. The pertinent date of September 15th, which was of course yesterday, we did not receive that sewage module approval from the Department of from DEP, from Department of Environmental Protection. But again, we're contacting them to try to find out why. We're expecting that any day now. You know, all these dates are, other than that, all these dates are on track.
I recall during the summer, we talked about, or in the spring, we talked about that you were going to get technical comments, that there were
Yes.
some, have we
Yep,
received
Yep,
those?
we have. So that
They,
initial.
and you had said they would be kind of an indicator whether there were any issues, so.
Yeah. And there were issues. Again, nothing that we don't believe we can overcome according to schedule. That we're scheduled for the resubmission addressing all of those comments at the end of the month. But yes, they threw some challenges our way that we're having to deal with. Yeah.
Are they any that, I know we can overcome them, but are they any that you would anticipate could delay us going out to bid?
We don't believe so at this point. Yeah. So we are on track to make that resubmission, address all those comments. The civil engineer is working earnestly to hold that. We just met again this morning, and they're saying they're on track for that end of month submission. We're going to be watching that very carefully. And yes, we do not believe that those are going to present any schedule impact. We're looking at, and we'll update you on that. There are some changes to the design that from an engineering standpoint that we're dealing with. But we're looking at the cost impact of that. Don't expect that to be huge, but it's definitely
Designed to the building?
to the site work, not the building. So this is all relative to the stormwater management, to how we convey water from the building to the stormwater management devices and then off the site out of those underground detention basins. And so yes, every project these days includes those very detailed technical reviews and reacting to comments. But again, there's nothing that we're seeing as a game changer that would threaten our schedule at this point. So then, and I'm going to turn it over to Julian at this point to go through the cost estimate sheets. Again, these numbers have not changed, but the presentation of them has, to try to make it clearer and answer some of the questions that were posed at the last meeting. So, okay.
So this chart here was put together by SiteLogic, so I'm going to do my best at explaining it in their absence. So what we have in the yellow is what was approved by the board at the end of the design development phase. If you recall, in June of 2024 is the estimate highlighted in yellow. And then in comparison, we have what's in green is the updated construction cost estimate provided by SiteLogic at the conclusion of the CD drawings. And they've included a cost escalation factor due to the delay of going out to bid of 1%. And so you see that number, the $680,000 there. The final column is the variance, so it's comparing those two columns to show you the delta between the CD estimate and the design development approved cost estimate. And we can go through each of those, or I think it's worth noting that the soft cost total has gone down, and then the next several slides show that breakdown of soft costs to kind of explain where those changes occurred. So slide 16 shows the professional service and FF&E changes in soft costs between the design development approved cost estimate and then the current construction estimate. So you can see that that actually went up in $310,000 and $527. The following two slides show several other soft costs. So that includes like asbestos abatement, permitting fees, and so what is highlighted in yellow is showing the big changes in reduction between the DD and CD phases. So at slide 17, the final number of the permitting fee has gone down from what SiteLogic was estimating at DD by $157,053. And then on the final slide, there was a reduction in financing costs by around $950,000. So that just kind of shows you that the total, and then you have the side-by-side at $12,256,000 and the $10,932,000, and then showing you the delta is $1,323,971. Any questions about that before we?
Any questions?
Just a quick one. The cost escalation due to delays, just the 1% of $680,000, is that just a straight 1% of what?
The hard cost of construction.
Yep, the hard costs
The hard costs?
of the construction cost.
The new construction costs?
Correct.
Is that, I mean, I guess I was thinking if it's just if it's 1% of the new construction, it's just the way it's, you could just put it under the new construction. A 1% increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Is
Well,
that-
yes, but
Or-
it's the result of a question about what's the impact of the delay. So it's, Yeah, ultimately, it will roll into the cost itself, but since it was a question that was posed, we created a line item for it.
Yeah, can you just re-explain? So the site work and demolition jumped from 12 million to 15 million. What all is in that again?
Yeah, that's everything outside the building. So yes, we went into great detail about, in previous meetings, about the numbers that went into that. It was related to some changes in the stormwater management, some additional grading, playground, that sort of thing that were added to those costs.
All right, so this is where that huge grading increase came from, but wouldn't that have already been reflected in the 12 million? Why is it now
It-
15 million?
No, it's because of the development of the design. At design development, it's phase, the grading and the stormwater management was not completely designed. So that represented the largest chunk of the increase from design development to construction documents.
And when we did that meeting, that was part of the process of putting together the construction documents.
That's right,
Correct.
yeah,
Oh,
So that was
okay.
about a year ago,
yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, exactly, right.
And it's worth noting that, so I think it's also worth noting that the two columns to the left of the green are construction document estimates, progress estimates that SiteLogic put together. And you can see that the February 4th site costs were at 17 million, so we were through, value engineering, and we were able to bring
Wait,
costs
so
back down.
why is it less? Why is it now 15 instead of 17? What did you just say?
We found opportunities to save. So
Were they?
there was the change in materials of some retaining walls. There was reductions in some of the site electrical costs. And again, as the design developed, as the value engineering process went on amongst the design and administrative and construction management team, we made decisions that were able to bring that number down.
So my next question is, are there other ways to bring that number down? Lower than the 15 million? It just seems like an awful lot of money to just get your land ready to do this, like that.
Yeah, from here
Billions and
on,
millions of
it's true. As I said, that was the biggest hurdle of some of our previous meetings to explain that change. But no, at this point, we're dealing with the requirements that are imposed on the design by codes, by the authority approvals, and we've found those areas of value engineering throughout this process, and this represents that effort, getting it down as much as we could from 17 to 15.
Would it be beneficial, so site work, just for clarity, right? Site work is not just grading, right? Site work includes the stormwater management, it includes some of the civil work utilities, it includes parking lots, all of the landscaping and trees, the playground, fencing, retaining walls, grass seed, I mean, it's a
Everything
lot.
outside the
Demolition
building.
of the old building, so
Right,
there's a lot involved with that actually isn't part of the new construction of the building, so.
Because this has been I think it was probably almost a year ago we discussed this. Maybe we could find in the coming days that particular meeting or those meetings and just send that link out to board members, just as an FYI. If people want to go back and watch, they can look at that. Because I do remember discussing that at length, and it might be helpful to go back and look at that, and we can find that particular meeting.
I do remember the grading conversation, but I don't, yeah. Oh, it was that conversation.
And I think that, what Julian shared, up until that point, we had estimates of what we thought the site work was going to be. And then as we got more design, as we realized this is in fact what the site work was going to cost, and we were surprised by that number. And that's what led us then to a process to look for reductions.
Correct.
You're going to hate this question. Are we still putting this building in the right place if this is how much money we have to spend to make this all work external to the building? You hate this question?
Can I answer it simply? Yes. Yeah, we did. No, we did. You'll recall, we looked at multiple locations on the site, and for various reasons relative to being in the woods, being closer to neighbors, and we reviewed the locations with the township in particular, and balanced what the pros and cons of each location would be, and then the result for the building, how the shape of the building would be changed, its relationship to the site amenities or the entry drives, and yes, this did, through very, very detailed analysis, turn out to be the best place for the building.
So I guess the reason I'm stuck on this is the original was, I mean, I won't want to say half, but, significantly less. It was $9 million as opposed to 15. And so it's just anyway, it's just a lot of money that's not going to be reflected in anything kids are going to see educationally. in the
No,
building.
there I would disagree,
Okay, tell
Mrs.
me more.
Solomon. What the kids are going to see is the play field that they have to play on instead of a basin with a fence around it for stormwater management.
Right, okay.
They're going to see a beautiful new large playground with all of its equipment. Everybody that visits the building will have the parking that's adequate. So no, this Ithan is one of the most beautiful campuses for a building that I've come across in my career, and it will be even nicer now through this project, and it will be accessible, and there'll be new walkways and new lighting, and a kindergarten playground and a primary age playground. And no, I think you very, very much will experience, the site work will contribute to the experience of the building in very significant ways. And think about the courtyards that are re-entrant into between each of the classroom wings, and the new forestry management program that is going to improve on the condition of the trees for the next generation that are on site. No, it will be a breathtaking site that surrounds a brand new building.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
It's
I'm
helpful.
going to reiterate that, thank you. We need that to that emphatic
Yeah, go-
endorsement, because this has been a little
yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, again, go back and look at those fly around renderings that Julian prepared. It's
Yeah.
breathtaking.
I just personally am trying to wrap my mind around the increase of the 300,000 in fees. And so, I think I'm being reminded that 300, because it feels to me like we've recently had some delays, right? We've had delays of when we were supposed to go out last spring to bid again, and then we've had the summer, and now we have a new date. But that 300 is actually all the way back to when we had this, is that increased fees from really when we had that the reality of the site costs and what we had to do there.
True.
So, right?
It's the
It's
same.
bigger than the recent delays in going out to bid. It's all encompassing back to really February of '25.
Right, in other
Or
words.
even before that, really
Yeah.
June.
Unfortunately, the date is not in that buff space there, but it's the same milestone date, column A, from the previous slide. It's the design development estimate. So it's the soft costs that are associated with that yellow column. So yes, that's the same duration from, 14 months ago, 15 months ago from that 2024 timeframe.
And then I'm just gonna extrapolate this out. So I just heard you say earlier that you're confident that we can go out to bid even if we get technical comments, or that we are in the process with the civil engineer. We're addressing those comments, and that you're comfortable. If for any reason that changes and we are delayed because we are not prepared to go to bid because of more engineering issues, do we then have an increase in cost again?
With respect to the soft costs here
Yes.
on this chart? Not necessarily. Again, we'd have to evaluate that situation when it presents itself, but not necessarily, because, again, these are, the furniture's not going to change, the technology budget, is called out there. With respect to the professional fees, again, the architecture's been complete and ready, so we're not, if something changes if the authorities, cause a delay and they ask us to redesign something, again, that's not an architectural fee, right? That's a civil engineer, so, no, it doesn't necessarily affect all of those line items if there's another, month delay or something like that on the authority approvals.
Okay. Any other questions?
On page 18, we talk about a significant reduction in the financing costs. Can you speak to that a little bit, how we arrived there?
I would probably get in trouble if I tried to speak to that
That's a
one.
question for Mr. Pollings.
Yes.
Yeah, who's unfortunately not here this evening, but he worked his magic somehow. And we had a conversation, there was a meeting before where he was present, he talked about the financing options and reworking things in the meeting, and I believe he's coming to finance next month for an ITHN presentation, I believe, don't quote me, so.
And then the following slides, 19 and following, are, again, we've come before you to explain that on, when the bids are received, that we're carrying numerous alternates that do not impact the educational program, still deliver you a high-performing building, but allow for sort of safety relief valves, and give you the opportunity to make decisions that will then impact the bids that are awarded. So again, I don't think we need to go over those, we have in the past, but we just keep including that because the goal of utilizing this delay in the approvals, one of the things we mentioned was to have the time to unpack all these things over the past few months so that when the bids are received, you're prepped to make some of those decisions. So we're carrying those. If any questions related to those come up, we can certainly do it, but it's related to finishes on the building interior, some large costs associated with the roof and things like that are big ticket items within the hard cost, some MEP-related ones. So those are all there. They're all going to be carried as alternates. We have an estimated value associated with each of those, but we'll see where they land on bid day, and we can make that decision as, yeah, that's a really good value. We should take that, or no, we can set that aside.
So, just so I understand it, again, these are still all included in your costs? All these alternatives are still included in the total cost?
In the hard cost estimate of the building?
Have these already come
Yeah.
out? What, like,
I believe we have not, those are not included in the cost in other words, the cost estimate is reflective of all these deducts that you see.
that have, these have already come out?
Yes.
These aren't things we're going to decide on later?
Right,
Oh,
right,
okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
We'll get costs, though. and then
you'll have the cost for them.
Want to
right.
put it back in.
Based
No, I
on
was
what
just
the
thinking,
ultimate-
oh, we could actually take another 2.4 million out, but that's not what you're saying.
No, and we just don't know. They're that, as I say, they're that safety relief valve that if the bids come in attractively, we can add value to the project. If the bids come in high, we have the opportunity to take some things out that don't affect the performance of the building in a significant way.
And what if the bids come in very high? Do you also have another list of things that we could pull that would reduce costs?
No, this is the list.
But we've
So-
already done these. Could we look for a few more that, in case we're
Well, we did.
surprised?
We, at previous meetings, we did go through a list that did include some other things that, either the design team recommended against, the administration or the board made a decision that let's not include those as alternates. So this is the final approved list that the design reflects, that the documents will reflect.
All right, but so what if the bids come in surprisingly, shockingly high? We don't have, would we go back to that other list of things we didn't pick and say, oh, well, let's look at that again?
No, the way the construction documents are structured is when the contractors put their bids in, they are going to assign a value to each of these on the bid form.
Okay.
So this is what we're asking them for. They're not going to give us other numbers, no. So this is the approved list. So if the bids come in high, which again, I'll let Site Logic speak to that. We have conservative estimating, we're hoping we're not the low bidder with the representation of these numbers, right? But if they do, then that creates decisions with respect to the value and the path forward.
Well, so I guess, say one aspect of this, something in here, comes in a lot higher than you thought. Wouldn't we have an opportunity at that point to say, oh, okay, well, no, actually, I don't really want to pay for that? Like, you could have thought it was a good idea, but then when you saw it was twice as much as you thought it would be. When that comes in, don't we still have a chance to trim it down?
Unfortunately, our hands are tied in the public bidding process.
Okay.
We don't have the opportunity to negotiate later with the bidders in that regard. To answer your question, an estimate is an estimate. So if one aspect of the work comes in high, it's often the case that another aspect of the work comes in low.
Right.
And so it becomes this sort of offsetting situation. If everything comes in high, like we saw during COVID, then yeah, and with the high school, that's a time for tough decisions. But what we're hoping is with these alternates that we've got enough here, based on the experience of the design team, have done this many times, is that we've got a great enough value here that it'll put us in a good position for making those decisions.
We still have to make a decision on these alternates.
Correct.
So once the bids come in, the alternates will have a price tag to them, and we're gonna have to make a decision on what we wanna do with that list of items. And we're gonna have to make a rather quick decision,
Yeah.
by the time we accept the bids, on what we wanna do with the alternates. If the estimate is high, then we're having other conversations about,
Right.
where do we wanna go from here? I mean, what has been your experience when something has come in so high that the board then is hesitant to move forward with the project? I mean, the options are, we're discussing whether we want to take out more, a larger, we want to increase our budget, we're going to have discussions about redesign at that point. Are there things we want to
Right.
redesign and go out to
Yes.
bid with something smaller?
I recall that conversation when we asked this question before was about square footage.
Right.
It's- We have
Right.
less building.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a redesign and rebid situation. That's really where we don't want to be, quite frankly, because that then is making decisions about impacting program. The building needs to get smaller. And we're losing something that we wanted to have educationally in the building.
Well, okay, to me, I already think that $77 million is too much. Like, I've thought that for a couple years now. So I'm trying to understand, like, I'm already at my max. So if it comes in significantly higher, I'm just trying to look for a way that I could still, in my mind, support this. That is there some way we can get this cost back down so that it's not, I don't want to go any higher than 77 million. Like, it keeps
Neither do we.
bumping up. Okay. But so I don't
But
hear,
if you recall that meeting, we all felt that way, right? And so really, that's when we said, until we go out to bid, we have to get these bids. Like, we're at the
Yeah.
point where there's no more for us to do other than get to the reality of what all this work
Okay.
is going to cost, and then, I'm not being cavalier, but cross that bridge if we
Yeah.
come to it, and hopefully we don't, but that's a whole nother big decision that,
well, yeah, I'm just trying to explore,
Right.
other things within that.
Right.
but I
That could
think
be
we
now,
scrub this for what this project is, this is what it is, to go out to bid.
You
You know.
feel that? There's not, I find that
we-
impossible to believe that you
Well-
couldn't tell me, oh, I could buy a different kind of brick that
Well, we
blah, blah,
went
blah,
through
here."
that exercise
did.
with them.
We did.
Like, and
But-
in many meetings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and we spoke up against that because we were also looking at the value, the long-term value, right? Like, we wanted to know what is going to have duration, so that we looked at the life cycle, sorry, I'm looking
Yeah.
for thank you, life cycle, life cycle of project. So I feel like, it's just, I mean, Lydia, I feel your pain, because it's been a while since we
Yeah.
had that conversation now. So I agree with Dr. Batchelor, maybe the reminder of that meeting or those two meetings where we went through all of that might make you feel, it's still all making us nervous until we get the bid. I mean, I think that's when we said we need to see what this is gonna cost, so that we can hopefully, I mean, that's hopefully what Damien, and all this time has afforded us, is tight construction documents and a accurate estimate, so that we get what we are expecting. And hopefully better.
So, just a reminder that everything that you see in these alternates is part of the base bid. So when we get the number on bid day, right, it includes all these things.
Yeah, I just heard the opposite.
The estimate doesn't
What?
include this, but the base bid includes all of these.
Oh, yeah. So the number,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the base bid, so on, just to help you understand for bid day, what it's gonna look like, right? So you're gonna get a number from a contractor that says base bid. That base bid is the construction of the building as it's designed, with all of the things listed here included. And we're gonna get bids from,
Included at the higher cost.
at the higher cost, yes.
With the bid.
With their base number.
So with Terrazzo, I'm just
giving you the With-
specifics.
yes.
It will be, the base bill will be with Terrazzo.
With Terrazzo.
Correct.
Right, and we'll be getting prices from a GC, we'll get prices from mechanical, prices from electrical. There's where Steve says, well, GC, yeah, might be a little higher than what we thought, but the MEP might be a little lower than we thought, and maybe they balance each other out, right? So each one of those primes are gonna give us a base bid amount. It includes what you see here. And then we have to make a decision. The goal would be, okay, we think it's gonna be 77, we add up all the base bids, and we're at 75, and it's a win because we're 2 million less than we thought, and everything's included. We might also say that, well, 75 is still a little high, let's take out Terrazzo floor, let's reduce the cost by whatever that number is.
Okay,
and
I
bring-
misunderstood
keep
what you were
bringing-
saying. I
yeah.
thought
So
that
that
these
was an
things were
opportunity.
already out of the 77 million. You're saying
They,
they're actually
they
still
are, for estimating purposes, they are, already, they were already taking out to show like best case
Oh.
scenario, but we don't know that the prices are gonna come in much higher.
All right, just so I'm crystal clear.
It is
77
a little
million,
confusing.
the 77 million does not include these 2 pages of things in purple. They're out already.
that's correct.
Right.
Got it. But you're going to come back, they're going to also give you an estimate on these things when they do the bid.
Yeah.
Yes.
The base bid will include them.
Yes.
Right.
And
So-
if
so
they were-
the-
and if
All right,
they
the
were-
base bid is not the 77 million.
Right.
It's
Well,
something else.
It's
Well,
what they give us.
The base bid is, when they're saying base bid, it's what the contractor gives us
Okay.
as a base bid. And so that's what we receive from the contractor. And then we will make decisions on whether or not we want to use any of the alternates.
Right.
It is confusing.
It's a little confusing, and
The
I
way
think,
to- the way
I
to-
can't speak for Damien, but I think the way it was just done that way to show that, if we can take these things out and reduce
Yeah.
the cost down to this much.
Right, how we bring the project as close to the original budget as possible.
Yeah, and that's by
That was
making
part
less.
of the exercise of identifying these alternates. But I think the way to think of it in terms of what Mr. Morris is saying is, your decision, once the bids are received, will be to remove things if you want to spend less. You will
But
not have to vote.
if they're already out, we can't remove them. They're already out
They're
of the
only out
estimate.
in the estimate.
They're out in the estimate
But not
for
in what they're-
estimating purposes.
Yes.
The contractor will include them
I understand.
in the price.
Well, I can't imagine that we're gonna, like, if this is a good estimate, we're gonna say, let's put them all back in.
Well, but
Right.
no, but that, actually, this is important discussion.
Yeah.
We were aiming for trying to get exactly your question of how do we get this building less?
Right.
So how do we cut things to make this less?
Right.
The design team and the administrative team, while comfortable with this list, are also not sure that that's what we really want to do. Do we really want the terrazzo, terrazzo versus the tiles? For life cycle, we'd rather terrazzo floors. We know they last longer. We know they have less upkeep. The tiles are gonna have maintenance, are gonna have issues down the road, potentially, just comparing the two. So we're gonna have to make decisions on, this number estimate was brought down to do exactly what you're asking, which has been done last year. How do we get this cheaper?
Get us to
This
even
is where we
go
get
out
it.
to bid. Yeah, I
But
got
as
that.
we, but we did, so we got it lower, but we're not necessarily sitting there going, this is all great that it's out.
Got it.
So they give us a bid, they're gonna put it in for the whole thing, then we're gonna have to decide, do we still wanna take these things or not?
Got it.
Does that make sense? And we're gonna have to make quick decisions. What we don't know is the bid's either gonna be higher than, this is where Liz's point, I think, Ms. Duffy's point. We don't know until we get the bids. Are they gonna be higher? Are they gonna be lower? And if they're lower, it's obviously gonna impact our thinking on these things. If it's higher, that's gonna have a different impact.
Really, how conservative were Site Logic's estimates?
Yeah, and where is the market?
Yeah.
And we're going to get numbers from, we're not just getting one number,
Right,
we're getting numbers from multiple bidders. And we believe, as we've expressed before, that this is an attractive project to bidders because it's a new building. It is going, we expect to have a high degree of interest. I'm getting calls, I'm sure SiteLogic is as well, because everybody was expecting this project to be on the street for bidding before, right? And we're saying, nope, hang in there, it's coming, it's coming. So there is interest in this project. And so we expect that a competitive process, the goal is that a competitive process would generate a number at or below this estimate. That's the purpose of estimating. So that's where we hope we are. Okay, so more to come on those decisions. Again, the remainder of the presentation is the financing, which I love all the colorful columns, and Mr. Pauling and your other consultants can help you through that. And then a very brief update with some exciting photos of the progress of the, we call it here the early demolition project, but the pictures you're seeing are the temporary playground project. Yeah, same thing, different terminology. And so these are just photos from a couple of days ago. And so, Mr. Morris, maybe you can even give a more hot off the press, but you can see the court going in.
Yeah, so that's the Versa court, that's the temporary basketball court that we're installing to have hard play surface. If you look at the picture to the top right, the yellow is the border of the Versa court there, so there's, and then back towards the back where you see the machine is where the swing sets are going. Okay, so they're kind of working from the front back. Again, this is a click-together, snap-together court. We do plan, we have every intention that when we get to the day where that needs to be demoed for stormwater management, we'll pull that court up and see about how we reuse it, because that was the whole purpose of that.
And the swing set as well.
Yes, I'm
is
sorry,
being-
the swing
yeah,
set, yeah, because we had that discussion about
Right.
incorporating it, where's it
Yep.
go, and things like that.
Okay, and then that takes us to the end for any further discussion or questions you may have. We're happy to address.
Anyway, I think we asked the questions as we went, but if anyone
So-
has additional, please.
Just, so what are you, just so I have some idea in my mind, what are you expecting to get back with these bids? Like, what does it typically look like? You're gonna get a thick thing
Oh,
of
yes,
pictures,
so,
numbers?
so it
and
is a
like what?
it's a very defined legal process. So there, yes, it's a thick set of documents that particularly, so there's several components of it. There's the base bid number that we've been talking about, but then they have to identify on a separate line every one of the alternates. There's also what we call unit prices, so, and allowances worked in. So we know, it's without a doubt, that at some point along the way, something is going to have to be added to the project. You know, if it's simply to get our certificate of occupancy, an inspector says, I want another exit sign over there. That's a very simple one. There's also valves and piping and a miscellaneous steel angle somewhere. So we incorporate all of those things as they complete a unit price for each one of these things, an electrical outlet, a pound of steel, you know, whatever it happens to be, there's a list of those things. And then we quantify that. That goes into the base bid amount as well. So that's a few pages. And then there's their qualifications, their bonding, their financial statements, all those things that we then look at to verify if they're a qualified bidder. And you may recall in the high school project, we actually had to disqualify one of the bidders because their bonding wasn't in line. So we look at that very carefully. We do, SiteLogic does, ultimately your solicitor does as well. So yes, it's a thick piece of stack of papers. And then hopefully we're going to have, 4 or 5, 6 of those for each trade, each of the GC, the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical, the roof, the others that we've identified. And then our job is to sort through all that, tabulate that for you, check their documents, and then come back to you with a way of determining, okay, who is the most qualified low bidder based on the base bid? How might that change based on the selection of alternates? So and then once those decisions are made at that February board meeting, then we notify them, they're the apparent low bidder, and then they still have to produce more documents that we check relative to preparing the contract for construction. And then those contracts, a few weeks later, a month at most, those contracts are signed, and then we issue notice to proceed for them to actually buy things and commence with the work. So it's, that's the process.
And just to go along with that, just the bids go out, we're aiming for November
Mhm.
to go out to bid. We would receive the bids roughly January, is what
Yeah,
we
we're
said?
talking about late January.
Late
Yeah, because
January.
we're taking into account the holidays. We want this to be an attractive bid event to get as much interest as possible, so we're going to give them what we believe to be plenty of time. And so the bid receipt date on our schedule is
January 8th is what we're.
January 8th.
And that's usually a public, right?
It's a
meeting,
public opening.
Opening of the bids, and we've
Absolutely.
done it here in the
Yeah.
past. Board members can come, they'll sit here, and they will do a public opening of the bids. And then we'll have how much time from the opening of the bids to the time the board would have to,
It's that February
right.
18th
February
meeting?
10th.
February 10th.
We'll present everything at facilities
Facilities.
before going to the board, so. So we'll have a work session, so we gotta sit down, we gotta take those base bids, we gotta take all the alternates, right? Put them in different scenarios, give you some different options, there's gonna be quite a few different, like, this is what it looks like if we do this is what it looks like if we do that, so you're gonna have, but you're not gonna have to go through all the paperwork, you're gonna go through a spreadsheet, basically.
I have another question about, so I'm actually living through a construction project where I work. Are they also required to tell you who they're going to subcontract to? Because it
Yes.
seems to me that there are thousands of people from different agencies crawling around. So they tell you all the different people that are going to be on site
Yes.
for each of these areas?
Yes, these prime contractors will have multiple, for the
Right.
general contractor, a couple
Right.
dozen subcontractors.
And they tell you all those people?
Yes, yes.
Yep. and we
They will
re-
identify them to us.
Yep, and we require clearances for the,
That's
not
what
only,
the next
not
question
only
was
the
gonna. So
prime,
all of those people have clearances?
Mhm.
and they've
before-
all been
Okay.
reviewed and vetted, and we'll hand out stickers, or some type of identification to know, who has been vetted, and who is not. SiteLogic does a fabulous job of that. We'll also have the certified payroll that will check against the names that we have to make sure who's on the certified payroll. We have clearances for, we know that they're working there, and it's double, triple checks and balances.
So this is a couple of years out, though, so what happens, all right, the bids come in, Joe Blow, the plumber, retired, got hurt, he's not there anymore. So how does the staffing change throughout the project? How are you alerted to who's there?
They'll have to
How
let
do
us
we
know
know?
that.
Yeah, they'll have to let us know that. So if they have, let's just say, I'll use your plumbing. So the prime, if they have the 2 or 3 people that are in the field actually installing the stuff, and they bring somebody new in, that person gets hurt, and they bring somebody
Yeah,
new in.
something like
They
that.
can't bring anybody new in until we have clearances, we've vetted them, and we've given them the okay.
And so who manages that?
SiteLogic and the district.
Okay, just curious, thank you.
I just realized I had one other question, sorry. The building permits, they came down 157. Does that reflect the reduction on the township fees?
We're still kind of carrying that.
We're carrying
because-
that, so there
yeah,
might be room
because of
for
the-
further savings?
Yeah, there could be potential.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Public comment? Not, meeting is adjourned.
Wants to say anything about our school?
What?